where we casually chat with you every week. But really, this week we wanted to give you an update. We just visited a beautiful event retreat property called Lakeview, as we were checking out for some of the spaces for our upcoming six-figure event mastery event. And we fell in love. We fell in love. We spent some time drinking tea there around the fire, overlooking the lake. And honestly, I just can't think of a better space to host a retreat style business event. So
Mhm. Yeah,
happening.
I agree. It was funny. We wanted a quick tour to see what the inside of the space looked like and ended up staying all afternoon. So thank you to Cindy for being so gracious and inviting us to stay and making us tea. And we didn't want to leave. And then I just love, Kat, when I dropped you off, you're like, we should have stayed.
My God, why did
Dreaming
we
of the lake.
leave?
Yeah, it is a really magical space. And I'm really excited to host our impact makers out there for our retreat. And also, we do have a few spots available for the general public. So if you've ever thought to yourself, wow, I see people doing these events and using them to fill their programs, and I want to know how they're doing it, because you're sitting there furiously taking notes and trying to like hack their process, we're going to walk you through the whole thing at our six-figure event mastery retreat. So, I think, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. You and I, between the two of us, have been to hundreds, like probably getting close to 1,000 events between like virtual, in person, whether it's a master class, a 3-day event. Like we're going to a big event out in British Columbia like in a month, right? We've been to so many events, and I think what makes us really unique is as we're attending those, we're picking out like what are the best parts, like what makes us feel really good. And then we bring those to our own events, because there's nothing worse than going to an event where you just feel like, wow, that whole thing was just about selling me into the next step. It wasn't about what's happening in this room right now. And sometimes we've been at events like a couple of years ago where it just felt like so high pressure that they were like chasing you down the hall trying to get you to buy their program. And I go like, yes, I get it. Lots of events are sales events, and the intention of them is to put you into the next step. But when you feel like you've wasted all this time there because all they're trying to do is get you into the next step, transformation happens right there in the room. And for me, as someone who like time is my number one core value, if I start to feel like I've wasted my time, I just hate creating that for other people. So I think that's why it's so important, and something we do differently is when we start planning events, we have like two outcomes. Yes, we know the right people are going to say yes to the next step, but also it's about what's happening right then and there. So like our Profitable Speaker Bootcamp, it's all about transformation in the room and pushing people out of their comfort zone and showing them the system. And we do that for all of our events. And I know it works because people come back and tell us like, oh my gosh, your event is so different than every other event I've been to. And so I love that we're going to teach that process forward to other people so that there will be so many more impact events happening. It makes me feel good, but it also makes me feel good to know we're educating people so that when they are out in the world going to all these other events, they see what's happening and they're going in making like a decision from a really aligned place, not because a whole bunch of tactics were used on them to just get them into the next step, right? So we always teach our clients about, helping your potential client make an aligned decision, not a decision because they felt like they were under a lot of pressure and you were like pushing them into that. It's just not necessary. The right people will always say yes without you having to use a whole bunch of NLP and kind of icky sales tactics on them. So I love that we're going to be doing that over that weekend at our retreat with people. And I know, and all of our impact makers are so excited. So we were sharing some little clips on Instagram yesterday and they were messaging me. They're like, is this it? Is this where we're going? Is this it? Is this the retreat space? Yeah. So they already know. They've been asking us already, like since we just got started like a month ago, and they're so excited. So I'm really pumped. But yeah, it was really interesting. The energy there. I'm like, it was so, we were already talking about like, hey, Cindy, maybe we're just going to come co-work out here all summer. What would you charge us?
Rent a room. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing too that made it really magical is as we sat there, and I think this happens to us a lot, is like the story of the space came
Mm,
out.
yes.
It wasn't just here's a building and people come here to do things. Like there's a whole story behind it, and getting to know Cindy, the owner, better, and her story, and the story of the space, and how the business found her. She wasn't even looking for it. It just came to her. Kind of how Profitable Speaker Bootcamp came to us because people just kept asking. So um, I think that's so important. The story of a place, a space, a business. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, and for me, that's one of the biggest differences when you rent commercial spaces versus when you rent spaces that you want to really feel aligned on that heart to heart, right?
Mhm.
And by far, those are my favorite. My favorite events that I've ever been to wasn't in a hotel rooms or boardrooms. They were at people's houses or retreat centers, just like this ones, or people's land, right? That they bought and
Mhm.
turned into a gathering space. And those are by far the events that I remember the most.
Yeah.
And I remember the most transformation that I've experienced.
Mhm.
And when I think about the six-figure event mastery, one thing that really excites me is it's so freaking actionable. Like what we're sharing is what we're doing,
Yeah.
but also that we get to do it in such a small circles. So it's
Mhm.
not like watching a course or trying to reverse engineer yourself, right? What's
Yeah.
happening, or someone just throwing at you like a bunch of information. This is really going to be people putting together their six-figure event,
Mhm.
and we've been making over 100K from just about every event that we've ever hosted, and
Yeah.
so showing people the red thread of how we're doing that and then getting them to actually put together their own. I'm stoked. I'm just stoked to see some of those events from our impact makers
Yeah.
and who decides to join us. And I'm probably going to be attending some of them. So.
Exactly. It's so funny in talking about, like the red thread of how things go together. Just because I was doing a VIP day with one of our clients who's in our next level program, which includes Impact Maker. And she was talking about how she was at boot camp, like trying to like figure things out, like how much did we
Yeah.
pay for the space? And did we make any money from the event? And I was like, yeah, we're gonna break it all down for you at Six Figure Event Mastery. But also I love that people are doing that. And there's so much more going on behind the scenes that you're not going to be able to figure out as the person
Mm.
as the attendee at the event. And I see it at every event. You can see people they're like taking notes, like they did this and they did this. But when you're missing the red thread of like how things interconnect,
Mhm.
and you don't even always need the why, but just there are things happening with intention that you may not recognize because you don't know what you don't know. It's really hard to reverse engineer an entire event, and that's why it's just so much better to just go learn it from someone that's already doing it, instead of going to a whole bunch of events and trying to figure it out yourself, because there will just be things happening that you're not aware of. We're
And
also
also
going to
about
teach
time
people.
consuming.
Oh, totally, right? But also we're going to teach people the things they should watch out for. Like when they're at events, like what are the things that should be a red flag to you that
Mhm.
maybe this is not going to be an aligned, opportunity for you. Because sometimes people just don't know the difference, and they don't know what are the tactics being used to drive them to a decision that may not be an aligned decision. So I love that people try and do that, and there's a lot happening that you don't know about behind the scenes, even with the team, even. So we're going to be teaching all of that, and I love that for our clients that are going to be there. But we do the same thing every event we're at. We're like, oh, look at it. But I mean, we have the insider knowledge, so we know exactly what they're doing, when and why. And it makes it a very, actually, when I think of what it was like attending events, like, almost a decade ago when I first started going to events, and now that I have acquired that expert level knowledge of what's happening behind the scenes, it's such a different experience to be like, I know why they said that thing in that exact spot. Right? I know what they're doing right now. That was a really good thing they just did. That was a really good story. That was a really good testimonial. It's so interesting to just be able to put it through my own filter, and like celebrate with someone, and also be inspired, or be like, oh, like I
Mhm.
wouldn't choose to do that. that's a choice they made that I wouldn't want to use at my own event. And I think that's such a powerful place to be, to be able to like attend from that point of view. I'm giggling at myself because I'm like probably the person people don't want in the room at their events, because I know and I choose to opt out of a lot of things so that I'm not getting emotionally engaged and just making decisions from a very aligned and centered place. So, but I'm sure when they see me in the room, they're like, oh great, here comes Kim. She's never gonna put her hand in the air.
So if this is you're the person who wants to host an event, and you want to know exactly how to do it, how to structure it, what the offer should be, how to make it more authentic to you making that offer. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a big event. Most of our clients, they made six figures from like 20, 30, 40 people rooms. So I'm not talking 3,000 people you have to put in the room. And we will teach you how to put people in the room as well. Then just either DM us or comment on this post, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah. Is that it? Anything else you want to add today? I feel like this was a fast one. 11 minutes. 11 minutes and 18 seconds.
Ended at 11:11.
Okay, if you were with us live, thanks so much. If you catch us on the replay, let us know. Drop replay in the comments, and we'll be here next Thursday. Have a great, have a great almost weekend.